Welcome back. I am John P. Today, we are going to be talking about two-tone watches and my thoughts on them. Recently, I was offered a two-tone Rolex Submariner, the blue ceramic bezel with the blue dial. And in that process, it really got me thinking, right? Because I've noticed even myself become more attracted to two-tone watches. Now, particularly, I am speaking of Rolex, but this isn't only for Rolex. This seems to be a trend that I've noticed over the last couple of years, but now I'm really just realizing this. I'm really kind of internalizing this and thinking about this and what it means for watches that I stock and we stock at delraywatch.com, where you can buy, sell, and trade watches, of course, my business. But I started thinking about this, and I remember 5-10 years ago, no one really wanted two-tone watches. Occasionally you'd have someone reaching retirement, they'd want to celebrate, they would get a two-tone Rolex Datejust, and that was kind of the old quintessential classic retirement gift for a man for himself or his wife or his family. You'd get your Rolex, you made it, time to relax on the beach in Boca Raton. That's what you did. And that was kind of always the stereotype associated with these two-tone watches. Now, truly within the last three years, I have seen an explosion in demand for two-tone watches. Now, an explosion in demand, but it was starting at a very low place. Now, I'm not saying that in any way that two-tone is overtaking stainless steel or even gold for that matter. But it is coming back, and it is coming back full force. Even recently, I had considered for myself someone that does not like to wear yellow gold or rose gold. I don't really like it too much. I think it can be a little bit too flashy. I'm usually in Palm Beach where you do see it, but not all the time. You see it in Miami all the time. People are wearing gold and two-tone, but for me, it's a little bit too stand out. Hey, look what I have. I like the stainless steel or the white gold or maybe the platinum. But at the end of the day, I like the whiter metals because it looks like stainless steel and it's just a more comfortable look for me. But I was even considering the two-tone GMT Master with the nipple dial, vintage of course. But I was considering, well, more than considering, I actually had purchased, if you saw a recent video, I purchased the new Explorer 1, the 36 millimeter in the two-tone, the Rolex Explorer 1 two-tone watch. And we got it in the door, and John, who works with us at the other John at Delray Watch, our operations director, he couldn't believe that I actually was buying it. There was an issue with the watch, so I had to send it back to the dealer. But he couldn't believe it. He's like, I can't believe you're wearing two-tone. And that's something I'm seeing from so many people across the board. Now, this can go a couple of different ways. I think, giving you one specific example, the two-tone Daytona, not the current rendition, but when they actually used metal on the bezels, we're talking last generation. These watches you couldn't give them away. I mean, we're talking $9,000 Daytonas 2 years ago. I get it, all Daytonas have gone up, but now these have crept up to $21,000, $18,000, depending on provenance, box, and papers, depending on the time you're watching this video. And that's kind of really the most startling thing for me as a watch. It was really difficult to kind of give away a handful of years ago. Now, pretty easy to give it away, but also pretty easy to sell the watch. And even myself, as someone that has completely stood off and sworn away gold for the most part, is now considering this. And I do see so many collectors getting into two-tone. So there are some cool models out there like the two-tone Daytonas, like some two-tone Rolexes. And I would recommend, if you're a watch collector that's been on the fence, or some of these models you thought were maybe a great deal, but you haven't pulled the trigger, I would recommend doing so, even outside of Rolex, because once again, I see the two-tone coming back. Watch manufacturers are starting to produce watches in two-tone again. They stopped for a while because stainless was just hitting so hard. But now brands, they want to sell that two-tone. It's got a little bit of a higher margin out there. I mean, gold costs much less to produce than they sell it for, so there's much higher margin for these watches, and they have the same production right in the watch, whether or not it's gold or it's stainless steel. So they'd much rather produce a gold watch and sell it for much more. They have to produce something anyway. The labor costs are basically the same. It's not like they're smelting watches, the gold themselves. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, brands are just having the cases made. So it doesn't matter to them. So they want that higher sale. So it's great for them. I think if they can convince the public to buy more of these watches, they will. The public, us as watch collectors, we seem to be liking them a whole lot. So I do see that two-tone watches are kind of maybe becoming the next trend, but I don't know. What do you think? I still see a bit of a divide, especially in the collector community. But outside of the collector community, I'm seeing so many people floating around Palm Beach and in Miami. Two-tone is really making a comeback. What do you think about two-tone? Please leave that in the comments below. You know my opinion, but please do not forget to check out DelReyWatch.com, Sinclair Straps, as well as my Instagram, The Real John P. Thanks, guys. You've been chatting with John P. Ciao.